My stepmother told everyone. I treated all the kids equally, until my wedding video proved otherwise and went viral. Growing up, she was subtle about it. Nothing you could point to and say, that's abuse. Just little moments. My half-sister Brooke got the window seat on every family trip. I got the middle. Brooke's birthday parties had bounce houses and magicians. Mine had grocery store cake and whatever cousins happened to be free. When I made honor roll, Dad would say, good job. When Brooke scraped by with C's, they'd take her to her favorite restaurant to celebrate her trying so hard. I learned to keep my mouth shut. Any complaint was met with, you're just jealous of your sister. So I stopped complaining. I paid for my own prom dress with money from my grocery store job. Meanwhile, Brooke got a brand new SUV for her 16th birthday. I got Dad's old Honda with 200,000 miles. When I got engaged to Tyler, my stepmother insisted on being involved in the wedding planning. I want to make sure everything's perfect for my daughter, she'd say to vendors. Then she'd quietly veto everything I actually wanted. The venue I loved was too expensive. My wedding dress made me look washed out. I was so exhausted from fighting that I just let her take over. The wedding day arrived and something felt off. My stepmother kept checking her phone and whispering to the photographer. During the reception, the videographer spent an unusual amount of time filming her and Brooke. They were both wearing white. Not fully white dresses, but close enough that in photos, you had to look twice to see who the bride was. 3 days later, my stepmother posted the wedding video to Facebook. I watched it at work during lunch and felt my stomach drop. The video opened with her in a confessional-style interview. I just love weddings, she gushed, especially when I get to plan them for my daughters. Then it cut to Brooke, not me. The entire 12-minute video focused on them getting ready, them dancing, them crying during toasts. I appeared for maybe 30 seconds total. Tyler wasn't in it at all. The comments started immediately. Which one is the bride? Why is this about the stepmother? Someone from high school wrote, classic. She's been doing this to Claire since 7th grade. That comment got 200 likes. Then my cousin Amelia shared screenshots in the family group chat of my stepmother's deleted Instagram posts from our childhood. Every award ceremony, every school play, every family photo, she'd cropped me out or positioned Brooke front and center while I was barely visible in the background. The video went viral. 4.3 million views in 72 hours. News outlets picked it up. Reddit threads dissected every frame. Someone made a TikTok comparing it to Cinderella. My stepmother's Facebook was flooded with thousands of comments calling her a narcissist. She deleted everything and called me sobbing. How could you let people attack me like this? I gave you everything. Really? I asked. Because I have the receipts now. That's when I posted the folder. Every birthday card she'd signed to Dad's daughter. Every Christmas where Brooke got $3,000 worth of gifts while I got a $50 Target gift card. The photo of my high school graduation where she photoshopped Brooke's face over mine for their holiday card. And the worst one, the email chain I'd found on Dad's laptop years ago. My stepmother convincing Dad to take out a loan for Brooke's college fund while telling him I should just work my way through community college. I'd gotten a 4.0 GPA and a full scholarship to Northwestern. She'd never mailed the acceptance letter. The internet exploded. Dad's business partners saw the posts. They'd been wondering for years why his capable older daughter wasn't involved in the family company while Brooke was being groomed for executive positions. They started asking questions. Yesterday, Dad showed up at my apartment alone. He looked 10 years older. We need to talk about your inheritance, he said quietly, and about Northwestern. I let him in. He stood in my tiny living room, looking around at the secondhand furniture Tyler and I had cobbled together, the IKEA bookshelves, the clearance rug, the coffee table I'd painted myself. His eyes lingered on my Northwestern acceptance letter, framed on the wall. I'd bought it for $15 at a thrift store after finding the original buried in my stepmother's desk drawer during a visit home 3 years ago. You knew, I said. It wasn't a question. Dad sat down heavily on the couch. I didn't know about the letter. Not then. His voice cracked. I swear, Claire, I found it last month when we were cleaning out the attic. Your stepmother had kept it in a box with other things. Report cards, college brochures, letters from your guidance counselor. You found it last month, I repeated slowly. And you're telling me now? After my wedding? After the video? I was trying to figure out how to... He stopped. Started again. There's no excuse. I should have told you immediately. I remained standing. What about everything else? The birthday parties? The car? The fact that you took out a second mortgage for Brooke's education while I worked 3 jobs to put myself through state school? Your stepmother said you preferred it that way. That you were independent. That you'd be insulted if we tried to help. The laugh that escaped me was bitter. And you believed her? I wanted to believe her. He looked up at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw my father cry. It was easier than admitting I'd chosen her comfort over your well-being. Easier than dealing with the fights. She'd threatened to leave, to take Brooke. I couldn't lose another family. So you chose them, every single time. Yes, the word came out as a whisper, and I can't take that back. We sat in silence. Outside, someone's car alarm went off. A dog barked. Normal sounds from a normal Tuesday. The business partners, Dad finally said. They've asked to meet with you. Richard, Thomas, and Vincent. They want to discuss your role in the company. I don't have a role in the company. I'm a graphic designer at an ad agency. You should have had a role. Your degree in business from state, your internship at Goldman, your ideas for the expansion. Your stepmother convinced me you weren't interested. She said you told her corporate life wasn't for you. Another lie. I'd begged my stepmother to talk to Dad about an entry-level position during my senior year. She'd smiled and said she'd mention it. Then she'd hired Brooke directly out of high school as a marketing assistant at $75,000 a year. What about my inheritance? I asked. You said we needed to talk about it. Dad pulled out a folder. Your grandfather left everything in a trust, half for you, half for Brooke. But the trust had conditions. It required the trustee, me, to ensure both beneficiaries received equal opportunities for education and career advancement. If I failed to do that, my role as trustee could be challenged. I took the folder. Inside were copies of the trust documents. My grandfather had died when I was 8. The trust was worth $4.2 million when he passed. With investments and growth, it should be worth close to $8 million now. Your stepmother convinced me that paying for your community college counted as supporting your education, that your choice not to join the family business was your decision, not my failure. But the trust attorney reviewed everything after the video went viral. He said I've been in breach of the trust terms for years. So what happens now? The trust attorney has recommended that I step down as trustee, that an independent party oversee the distribution, and that you receive compensation for the educational and career opportunities you were denied. I flipped through the pages. There were calculations, estimates of what Northwestern would have cost, what my earning potential would have been with that degree versus my state school degree, what my salary should have been if I'd joined the family business at 22 instead of working my way up in agencies. The number at the bottom was $2.8 million. This is what I owe you, Dad said, legally and morally. The trust attorney says you could sue for more, for emotional damages, but this is what I'm prepared to offer right now, today. And Brooke, what does she get? Her half of the trust, plus what your stepmother and I can give her from our personal assets, but nothing from your portion. I set the folder down. I need time to think about this. Of course. Take all the time you need. Dad stood. Claire, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I failed you in every way a father can fail a daughter, but I want you to know that I'm proud of you, of the woman you became despite everything I didn't do for you. Don't. The word came out sharp. Don't try to take credit for who I am. You didn't make me strong. You just gave me no choice but to be. He nodded slowly. You're right. I'll go. At the door, he paused. The business partners want to meet Thursday at 2 p.m. at the main office. They're serious about bringing you on, Richard said, and I quote, "We've been waiting 10 years for you to be involved. We're not waiting anymore." After he left, I called Tyler at work. "You need to come home," I said, "right now." Tyler worked in IT at a hospital 20 minutes away. He arrived in 15. I showed him the folder. "Holy shit," he breathed, reading the numbers. "Claire, this is life-changing. This is more than life-changing. This is generational wealth. This is never worrying about money again." I paced the living room, but it's dirty money. It's guilt money. I ruined your childhood, so here's a check money. Tyler set down the folder and grabbed my hands. It's your money. Money your grandfather left you. Money you should have had access to all along. Taking it isn't accepting their apology. It's accepting what's rightfully yours. What about Brooke? She didn't choose to be the favorite. Brooke benefited from the favoritism. She got the education, the car, the job, the love. She got everything while you got nothing. And when the video came out, did she defend you? Did she acknowledge any of it? He was right. Brooke had been silent. Not one comment on social media, not one text message, not one call. Just silence as the internet tore our family apart. "I need to see the Northwestern letter again," I said. Tyler took it off the wall, handed it to me. I'd read it so many times I had it memorized. "Dear Ms. Claire Henderson, we are delighted to offer you admission to Northwestern University's class of 2015. Your academic achievements and extracurricular leadership have impressed our admissions committee. We are pleased to offer you a full 4-year merit scholarship covering tuition, room, and board, full ride, to one of the best schools in the country." And my stepmother had buried it in a box. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept calculating. 4 years at Northwestern versus 4 years at State. Entry-level position at Dad's company at 22 versus scraping by in agencies. The compounding effect of opportunities I'd never been given. By morning, I'd made my decision. I called the trust attorney directly. His name was Walter Chen, and he'd been my grandfather's lawyer for 30 years. "Ms. Henderson," he said warmly, "I've been hoping you'd call. Your grandfather would be devastated to know what happened to you." "Tell me the truth," I said. "Is my father's offer fair? Legally, it's adequate. Morally, you're entitled to much more. Your grandfather specifically included language about equal treatment. He'd seen this pattern in other families. Favoritism destroying relationships. He wanted to prevent it. What would you recommend?" Walter paused. "I'd recommend you hire your own attorney. Someone who represents only you. Someone who can review every financial decision your father made over the last 15 years and determine if he violated the trust in other ways." "Other ways?" "Brooke's salary at the company, the house your father bought in her name, the investment accounts. If any of that money should have been held in trust for you, you're entitled to reimbursement." I thanked him and hung up. Then I called the number on the business card my father had left. Richard Connors answered on the first ring. "Claire?" he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "Thank God. We've been waiting years for this. My father said you wanted to meet, talk, beg you to join the company. We're desperate. Your father's been running things into the ground. Brooke has no business sense. And we've been watching your work. The campaign you did for Bronson Industries last year, brilliant. The rebranding for Thompson's, genius. You have your grandfather's mind for business. I didn't think anyone noticed my work, Claire. Everyone noticed. We've been sending your father articles about your campaigns, awards you've won. We kept asking when you'd join us. He always had an excuse. Thursday came. I put on my best suit, the one I'd bought for interviews. Tyler drove me to Dad's company headquarters. I hadn't been inside since I was 12, when my stepmother had told me I shouldn't come to the Christmas party because I'd just be bored. The building was exactly as I remembered. Glass and steel, modern and cold, but the people inside were warm. Richard met me in the lobby. He was 60-something with silver hair and kind eyes. "You look just like your grandfather," he said. Same determined expression. He led me to the conference room. Thomas and Vincent were already there, both in their 50s, both partners since before I was born. "We'll cut right to it," Thomas said. "We want you as a full partner. Equal share. Immediate start. We need your vision and your skills. The company has been stagnant for years. And my father? Your father will remain as a partner, but we're voting to reduce his decision-making power. Brooke will be reassigned to a position that matches her actual qualifications." "Which is?" Vincent smiled grimly. "We're thinking mailroom." "I can't start immediately," I said. "I have obligations at my current job. 2 weeks? A month? We'll wait. We've been waiting a decade. And my salary? Richard slid a paper across the table. The number made my vision blur. It was 4 times what I currently made, plus profit sharing, plus full benefits, plus a signing bonus of $100,000. We know you're going to have legal costs, Richard said quietly. For the trust situation, we want to help. I signed the contract right there. When I got home, Tyler was waiting with champagne. Cheap champagne because we were still broke, but he'd tried. To my brilliant wife, he said, raising his glass. The youngest partner at Henderson & Associates. I can't believe this is real. Believe it. You earned this. Every bit of it. The next morning, I hired an attorney. Her name was Patricia Vance, and she specialized in trust litigation. She was expensive, but Richard had recommended her. She's brutal, he'd said approvingly. You'll need brutal. Patricia reviewed everything, every financial record, every transaction, every decision Dad had made as trustee. It took 3 weeks. When she called me back to her office, her expression was grim. Your father didn't just fail to support your education, she said. He actively funneled trust money to Brooke. The house he bought her? That was purchased with a loan against the trust. The car? Trust money? Her salary? The company was running at a loss. He was using trust funds to cover her inflated paycheck. How much? Over the 15 years since your grandfather died, $1.2 million that should have been preserved for both of you. All of it went to Brooke. I felt dizzy. $1.2 million, plus interest and penalties. We're looking at a total claim of $2.1 million. Combined with the educational and career opportunity losses, you're entitled to roughly $5 million from the trust. That's more than half. That's what's fair. Your father violated his fiduciary duty. He has to make it right. I authorized Patricia to file the claim. The lawsuit hit the family like a bomb. My stepmother called 47 times in one day. I blocked her number. Brooke sent a long text about family loyalty and how I was destroying everyone's lives over money. I blocked her too. Dad's lawyer reached out to Patricia. They wanted to settle, avoid a trial, avoid more public scrutiny. The viral video had been bad enough. A public trial about misappropriated trust funds would destroy what was left of the family's reputation. Patricia negotiated hard. We settled for $4.7 million, paid immediately, plus my full partnership in the company, plus Brooke's termination. The money hit my account on a Tuesday morning in September. I stared at the balance on my phone for 10 minutes straight. Tyler and I bought a house. Nothing crazy. A modest 3-bedroom in a good neighborhood. We paid cash. Then I set up my own trust. For the kids we'd have someday. With very specific language about equal treatment and educational opportunities, at work I was thriving. The campaigns I developed brought in 3 major new clients in my first 6 months. Richard started bringing me to high-level meetings. Thomas and Vincent treated me like the partner I was. Vincent's daughter needed career advice. He sent her to me. I trust you, he said simply. You know what it's like when family doesn't support you. You'll give her good guidance. The company's revenue increased 34% in my first year. We hired 12 new employees. We expanded into 2 new markets. And through it all, I kept my head down and worked. Proved I belonged. I saw my stepmother once, at the grocery store. She was in yoga pants and a faded sweatshirt, no makeup. She looked old, tired. She saw me and froze. Claire, she started. Can we please talk? No, I'm sorry, for all of it. I was jealous of you, of how much your father loved you. I thought if I could make Brooke more important, he'd love me more. Did it work? She flinched. He's filing for divorce. Good. I didn't say it out loud. I just turned my cart and walked away. Behind me, I heard her crying. I kept walking. Brooke reached out 6 months later. She'd gotten a job at a different marketing firm. Entry level. She was living in a studio apartment and taking the bus to work. I didn't know, she wrote in an email, about the Northwestern letter, about the trust money. Mom told me you chose to go to state, that you didn't want to work for Dad. I believed her. I didn't respond immediately. Tyler and I talked about it for hours. She was a kid too, Tyler said. She was manipulated just like you were, just in a different way. She's 24 years old. She had years to notice, years to ask questions, years to say something, and now she is. Isn't that what you wanted? I thought about my grandfather, the man I barely remembered but who tried to protect me even after death. He'd wanted our family to be whole, to be fair, to be loving. I wrote back to Brooke. I need time. Maybe we can talk someday, but not yet. She replied immediately. Whenever you're ready, I'll wait. Then another. A year passed. Tyler and I had our first baby, a daughter. We named her after my grandfather's mother, Eleanor. We invited Dad to meet her. He came alone bearing gifts. Too many gifts. Trying to buy back lost time. You can't fix the past with presents, I told him. I know, but I don't know what else to do. Be a better grandfather than you were a father. That's what you can do. He held Eleanor and cried. I promise, he whispered to her. I promise I'll never let anyone make you feel less than. I promise I'll see you. Really see you. I wanted to believe him. Part of me did. Part of me never would. The company kept growing. We opened an office in Denver, then one in Austin. My campaigns won industry awards. I was invited to speak at conferences. Business schools asked me to guest lecture. 28 years old, and I was living the life I should have had at 22. But I'd earned it myself. That mattered. Brooke and I eventually met for coffee. Awkward at first. Stilted conversation. She apologized again. I listened. She told me about therapy, about unpacking all the ways our stepmother had poisoned her thinking, about realizing that being the favorite hadn't actually helped her. She'd never developed real skills because everything had been handed to her. She'd never built resilience because she'd never faced real challenges. I'm 26 and I'm starting from scratch, she said. Like I should have done at 22, like you did. It's harder this way, I warned her, but it's real. I know, I'm learning that. We didn't become close, probably never would be, but we texted occasionally. Birthday wishes, holiday greetings, small steps towards something that might eventually become a relationship. My stepmother. I never spoke to again. She tried at Christmas, at Eleanor's first birthday, At every family milestone, I stayed firm. Some bridges, once burned, couldn't be rebuilt. Tyler's family became mine. His parents treated me like the daughter they'd always wanted. His sister became the sister I'd never had. On Eleanor's second birthday, we threw a huge party. Bounce house, magician, the works. Every kid got a goodie bag. Every parent got thanked for coming. I watched my daughter laugh and play, surrounded by people who loved her. Equally. Unconditionally. Tyler found me in the kitchen, watching through the window. You okay? I'm better than okay. I'm giving her what I never had, and you're giving yourself what you deserved all along. That night, after everyone left, I sat in Eleanor's room and watched her sleep. Her toy chest was overflowing. Her bookshelf was packed. Her closet held more clothes than she could possibly wear. But more than that, she had parents who saw her, who showed up, who would never make her beg for the basic dignity of being treated as important. I thought about my grandfather's trust. The money he'd left to protect me. It had done its job eventually, just not in the way he'd planned. The lawsuit had been about more than money. It had been about forcing the truth into daylight, about making the invisible visible, about proving that the favoritism I'd endured wasn't in my head. The receipts had set me free. My phone buzzed. A message from Richard. Board meeting next week. We're voting on making you managing partner. Vincent and Thomas are ready to semi-retire. The company needs you at the helm. Managing partner at 29. Leading the company my grandfather had founded. Working alongside people who valued my skills. It felt like victory, like justice, like everything I'd fought for finally paying off. But the real victory was smaller, quieter. It was Eleanor's laugh, Tyler's steady presence, the house we'd built together, the life we'd chosen, the family we were creating, based on love instead of favoritism, on truth instead of lies. I'd lost my childhood to a stepmother's jealousy and a father's weakness, but I'd gained myself, my strength, my certainty, my refusal to accept less than I deserved. The viral video had been the beginning, the receipts had been the weapon, but the real win was waking up every morning in a life I'd built with my own hands, a life where I was valued, where I was seen, where I was enough, always enough, without having to prove it. I thought about that scared 16-year-old getting the middle seat on every family trip, the college student working 3 jobs while her sister got handed everything, the bride who almost disappeared from her own wedding video. She'd survived, she'd thrived, she'd won. Not because she'd destroyed her family, though she had, not because she'd gotten rich, though she had, but because she'd looked at years of being made invisible and decided to take up space, to demand her due, to fight for what was hers. And in fighting for herself, she'd broken the cycle. Eleanor would never know what it was like to be the forgotten daughter, to be cropped out of photos, to have her achievements minimized while someone else's mediocrity got celebrated. The generational curse ended with me. Outside Eleanor's window, the neighborhood was quiet, streetlights casting gentle glows, other families settling in for the night, normal lives built on love and fairness, the life I'd always deserved, the life I'd finally claimed. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Amelia, the cousin who'd first shared the childhood photos that started everything. Just saw the news about managing partner. So proud of you. Grandpa would be too. I smiled in the darkness. He would be. Not just because of the professional success, but because I'd used his gift, the trust, the protections, the financial foundation, to build something real, to create justice where there'd been none, to force accountability where there'd been only excuses. The wedding video had 15 million views now. A cultural touchstone about narcissistic step-parents and invisible children. Documentaries had reached out. Podcast hosts wanted interviews. I declined them all. The story wasn't about being famous. It was about being free. Tyler appeared in the doorway. Come to bed, he said softly. She's fine. The party was perfect. You're perfect. Everything's perfect. Nothing's perfect, I said. But it's real. It's ours. That's better. We walked to our bedroom together. In the hallway, framed photos lined the walls. Eleanor's first steps. Our wedding day. The real moments. Not the stepmother's edited version. Tyler's promotion. My partnership announcement. Moments of genuine joy. Honest triumph. Real love. No one was cropped out. No one was minimized. No one was invisible. I slept well that night. Better than I had in years. The kind of sleep that comes from knowing you fought your battles and won. Not perfectly, not without scars, but won nonetheless. In the morning, Eleanor toddled into our bedroom with her favorite stuffed elephant. Mama, she said, climbing into bed between Tyler and me. Love you. Love you too, baby. She curled against me, and I breathed in the scent of her baby shampoo. This was what I'd fought for. This moment. This peace. This certainty that I could give her better than I'd gotten. My phone showed an email from Patricia. The final trust disbursement had cleared. Every penny accounted for. Every wrong righted. At least financially. The legal battle was over. I'd won completely, but I'd known that already. The real win wasn't in the bank account. It was in the weight of my daughter against my chest, in the warmth of Tyler's arm around us both, in the quiet Saturday morning with nowhere to be and nothing to prove. The little girl who'd ridden in the middle seat had grown up. She'd found her own way. She'd built her own life, and she'd made damn sure that the cycle of favoritism and neglect ended with her. That was the victory that mattered. That was the story worth telling, not the viral video or the lawsuit or the career success, though those were satisfying too. But the simple fact that I'd survived. I'd thrived. I'd refused to let their treatment define me. I thought about my stepmother in her faded sweatshirt, crying in the grocery store, about Brooke starting over at 26, about Dad trying to buy forgiveness with presents. They'd all lost what they'd taken for granted: family, reputation, security. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated, gleeful. Instead, I felt tired and free. The anger that had fueled me through the lawsuit, through the public exposure, through the rebuilding of my life, it was fading. Not gone, but quieter, replaced by something steadier, something like peace. Eleanor fell back asleep between us, Tyler dozed too. I stayed awake, watching the morning light creep across the bedroom ceiling, planning the week ahead: Monday's board meeting, Tuesday's client presentation, Wednesday's lunch with Richard to discuss the Denver office expansion. My life was full, busy, purposeful, built on my own merit and my own choices. The doorbell rang, breaking the quiet. Tyler stirred. "I'll get it," I whispered, sliding out of bed carefully so I wouldn't wake Eleanor. At the door was a delivery person with a massive floral arrangement: roses, lilies, orchids. The card read, "To the best granddaughter. I'm sorry I didn't fight harder. Love, Dad." I brought them inside and set them on the kitchen counter. They were beautiful, expensive, meaningless. But I kept them anyway, not as acceptance of his apology, not as forgiveness, but as a reminder that I'd come from people who'd hurt me and I'd built something better, that I'd taken the broken pieces they'd left me with and forged them into something strong. The flowers would die in a week. They always did. But the life I'd built would last. The family I was creating with Tyler would endure. The lessons I'd teach Eleanor about self-worth and dignity and fighting for what you deserve, those would shape generations. I took a photo of the arrangement and texted it to Amelia. "Dad's still trying." She responded immediately. "Let him try. You don't have to accept it. You don't owe him anything." She was right. I didn't owe him anything. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, not even acknowledgement. I'd paid my dues in invisible years and swallowed hurts and silent endurance. I was done paying, but I could choose to let him try. Not for him. For me. Because holding on to anger was exhausting. Because Eleanor deserved a grandfather who showed up, even if it was 25 years too late for his daughter. Because I was strong enough now to set boundaries and enforce them without burning everything down. Growth looked like that sometimes. Not forgiveness. Not forgetting, but choosing peace over perpetual war. Tyler came into the kitchen, Eleanor on his hip. "Flowers?" he asked, from Dad. "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." And I was, truly. The viral video had been the spark. The lawsuit had been the fire. But this, standing in my kitchen with my family, looking at flowers from a father who'd failed me, feeling nothing but mild annoyance, this was the aftermath. This was survival. This was winning. Eleanor reached for a lily. "Pretty," she said. "Very pretty," I agreed. "But they don't last. So we'll enjoy them while they're here and not be sad when they're gone." She nodded seriously, as if I'd said something profound instead of just describing cut flowers. But maybe it was profound. Maybe that was the lesson in all of this. Enjoy the beautiful things while they last. Don't mourn them when they fade. And never ever mistake temporary beauty for permanent worth. My stepmother had been beautiful, charming, the perfect corporate wife, and it had all been surface. Underneath was cruelty and jealousy and a smallness of spirit that no amount of expensive clothes could hide. I was none of those things. I wasn't beautiful in the polished way she'd been. I wasn't charming at parties or effortlessly gracious. But I was real. I was solid. I was someone Eleanor could trust to show up, to tell the truth, to fight for her when the world tried to make her small. That was worth more than all the flowers in the world. The weekend passed quietly. Monday came. I put on my power suit and drove to the office. The board meeting was at 10 a.m. Richard had told me it was a formality. The vote was predetermined. I was going to be managing partner. But I was still nervous. Still that girl who'd been told she wasn't good enough, wasn't wanted, wasn't worth the investment. The conference room was full. All the partners. All the senior associates. They stood when I walked in. Applauded. Richard grinned. "All in favor of making Claire Henderson managing partner?" Every hand went up. "Congratulations, Claire. The company is yours." Mine. The word echoed in my head. Not my father's. Not my grandfather's legacy that I was borrowing. Mine. That I'd earned. That I'd fought for. That I deserved. I gave a short speech. Thanked everyone. Outlined my vision for the next 5 years. When I finished, Vincent stood. "To Claire," he said, raising his coffee cup, "who proved that the best revenge is living well." Everyone laughed, cheered, clapped, but he was wrong. Living well wasn't revenge. Revenge was the lawsuit. Revenge was the public humiliation. Revenge was watching my stepmother's world crumble. Living well was just living. It was waking up without anger. Going to work because I loved it, not to prove anything. Coming home to Tyler and Eleanor. Building something that would last beyond my hurt feelings and old wounds. That wasn't revenge. That was freedom. After the meeting, Richard pulled me aside. "Your grandfather would have loved this," he said quietly. "Seeing you here, running things, succeeding." "Did you know?" I asked. "About how my dad was treating me?" He hesitated. "We suspected. But your father was majority owner. We couldn't intervene without proof. And you were so young. We didn't know how to help. You could have asked me." "You're right. We should have. I'm sorry we didn't." Another apology. Another person who'd stood by while I was erased. But at least Richard had done something about it eventually. At least he'd pushed for my partnership, given me a chance to prove myself. That counted for something. I worked until 7 p.m. that first day as managing partner, reviewing contracts, meeting with department heads, setting new policies. It was exhilarating and terrifying, and exactly what I'd always wanted. At home, Tyler had dinner waiting. Eleanor was in her high chair, covered in spaghetti sauce. The kitchen was a disaster. It was perfect. "How was your first day running the world?" Tyler asked, kissing me. "Exhausting, amazing, surreal. Proud of you." "I'm proud of me too." We ate dinner together, gave Eleanor a bath, read her 3 picture books, put her to bed. Then Tyler and I collapsed on the couch with cheap wine and expensive cheese. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" I asked. "Here like successful and happy? Or here like eating cheese in our pajamas?" "Both," he laughed. "Honestly, no. I thought we'd always be scraping by. I thought your family would always have power over you. I thought you'd never fully escape them. But I did. You did. And you're going to make that company into something incredible. And Eleanor's going to grow up watching her mom be a badass. And your stepmother is going to see all of it and know exactly what she lost. That should have felt good. It didn't feel like much of anything. My stepmother's opinion didn't matter anymore. Her approval or disapproval, her pride or shame, her anything, it was irrelevant to my life. That was real freedom. Not caring what she thought. Not needing her to acknowledge what she'd done or apologize or change. Just not caring. I think I'm done being angry, I said. Tyler looked at me carefully. Done? Or just tired? Done. The anger served its purpose. It pushed me to fight back, to demand better, to build this life, but I don't need it anymore. What are you going to replace it with? I thought about it. Nothing. Just space. Room to breathe, room to enjoy what I've built without always looking over my shoulder at what I didn't have. He squeezed my hand. I think that's called healing. Maybe it was. Maybe after years of fighting and scraping and proving myself, I'd finally reach the other side, where the past was just the past, where my stepmother was just a woman who'd treated me badly, not the villain of my entire story, where I got to decide what mattered and what didn't. I picked up my phone and opened Instagram, took a photo of Tyler and me on the couch, posted it with the caption, "To new beginnings and old wounds finally healing. Managing partner, mom, wife." Exactly where I'm meant to be. Within minutes, the comments flooded in. Congratulations. You deserve it. Inspiration. Queen. One comment made me pause. From Brooke. So proud of you, sis. You earned every bit of this. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I liked it. Didn't respond. Just acknowledged it. That felt like enough. The months that followed were a blur of growth and change. I restructured the company's entire marketing division, landed our biggest client ever, a tech startup going public, hired 20 new employees, making sure to create opportunities for talented people who'd been overlooked elsewhere. Eleanor turned 3. We threw another elaborate party. This time, I didn't think about what I'd had at 3. I just celebrated her, her joy, her personality, her perfect, loved, seen self. Dad came to the party, brought age-appropriate gifts, played with Eleanor without trying to buy her affection, left when I asked him to without making it about his feelings. He was learning, slowly. Too late to fix what he'd broken with me, but maybe in time to build something real with Eleanor. My stepmother didn't come, hadn't been invited, probably never would be. Some people got second chances. She'd had thousands and squandered everyone. Brooke came, awkward still, but trying. She'd been promoted at her firm, was dating someone who treated her well, was building a life based on her own merit instead of her mother's manipulation. We weren't close, might never be, but we were civil, cordial, sometimes even friendly. That was more than I'd expected, more than I'd thought possible. At work, I was thriving. The company's revenue had doubled in my first 18 months as managing partner. Industry publications were writing articles about our turnaround. I'd been named one of the top 40 under 40 business leaders in the region. But the best moment came on a random Tuesday. I was in my office reviewing a proposal when my assistant buzzed. "There's a young woman here to see you. Says she's a college student. Wants advice." I almost said no. I was busy. But something made me say yes. She came in nervous, clutching a portfolio. Her name was Destiny. She was 21, a first-generation college student studying business. She'd seen my interviews, read about my story, wanted to know how I'd made it. I spent an hour with her, told her the truth, that it was hard, that people would overlook her, that she'd have to work twice as hard for half the recognition, but that it was worth it, that she could build something real if she refused to quit. She left crying, thanking, saying I was the first successful person who'd ever taken her serious, and I realized this was why I'd fought. Not just for me, not just for Ellen, but for every overlooked, every invisible, every person told they weren't good enough. I could be what I'd needed. The voice that said, "You matter, you're capable. Don't let them make you small." That night, I told Tyler about it. "I think I want to start a foundation," I said. "Scholarships for kids from families where they're not supported, where they're overlooked or underestimated, kids like I was. That's a beautiful idea. I could use part of my trust settlement. Fund scholarships for kids who get into good schools but whose families won't help them. Make sure another Northwestern letter doesn't get buried." Tyler pulled me close. "Your grandfather would love that. Using his money to create the opportunities for others that should have been yours." I started the foundation that month, called it the Equal Opportunity Trust, set up an application process, hired Destiny as the first intern to help review applications. By the end of the year, we'd funded 15 scholarships. Kids going to Northwestern, Yale, MIT. Kids whose families had dismissed their potential. Kids who reminded me of myself. At the first award ceremony, I stood on stage and looked at those 15 faces. Young, hopeful, scared, determined. I told them my story. The Northwestern letter, the grocery store job, the years of being invisible. And then I told them the ending. The viral video, the lawsuit, the victory. "You are enough," I said. "Exactly as you are. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. And when they try, and they will try, use it as fuel. Build something so undeniable they can't ignore you. Then build something bigger than your hurt. Build a legacy." They gave me a standing ovation. Destiny cried. The parents thanked me. Local news covered it. The foundation went viral. Nowhere near 15 million views. But enough. Enough to inspire others. Enough to create change. I went home that night and found Eleanor asleep on the couch, curled up with Tyler. I took a photo, posted it, building the world I wish I'd grown up in. For her, for them, for me. The comments were supportive, kind, but one stood out. From an unknown account. "You took something ugly and made it beautiful. That's real strength." They were right. I had. The favoritism, the erasure, the buried acceptance letter, the wedding video, all of it. I'd taken it and transformed it. Not into revenge, though, there'd been that too, but into purpose, into meaning, into something that mattered beyond my own hurt feelings. 5 years after the video went viral, a documentary filmmaker reached out. She wanted to do a piece on children who'd been scapegoated in blended families, wanted to use my story as the centerpiece. I'd said no to every media request for years, but something about this felt different. Important. I agreed. They interviewed me. Tyler, Amelia, Richard, Patricia, even Destiny. They tried to interview my stepmother and Brooke. Both declined. The documentary premiered at Sundance, won awards, started conversations about favoritism and narcissistic family dynamics. It was powerful, validating, but also distant, like watching someone else's life, because it was someone else's life now. That scared, invisible girl, she was gone, replaced by someone strong, someone who'd fought and won, someone who'd turned her wounds into wisdom. Eleanor was 7 when she asked about it. "Mommy, why don't we see Grandma, Dad's wife?" I considered lying, making it simple, but I'd promised myself I'd never lie to her the way adults had lied to me, because she wasn't kind to me when I was growing up, I said carefully, and I decided that I didn't want that unkindness in our family. But she's Dad's wife. Doesn't that make her family? Family isn't just about blood or marriage. It's about how people treat each other. And she didn't treat me like family, so I chose not to treat her like family either. Eleanor considered this. If someone's mean to me, can I choose not to be their family? Yes, always. You never have to accept people who hurt you just because they're related to you. She nodded, satisfied, and I knew I'd done it. Broken the cycle, taught her what I'd had to learn the hard way, that she had choices, that she mattered, that she never had to make herself small to make others comfortable. That was the real victory. Not the money, not the career, not even the viral vindication, but this. Raising a daughter who knew her worth, who wouldn't accept crumbs when she deserved a feast, who understood that family was defined by love and respect, not blood and obligation. 10 years after the wedding video, I rarely thought about it. It came up occasionally. Someone would recognize me, ask about it. I'd smile politely and change the subject. It wasn't my story anymore. It was a story that had happened to someone I used to be. The company was flourishing. We'd opened offices in 7 cities. Our client list read like a who's who of Fortune 500 companies. I'd been featured in Forbes, given keynote speeches at major conferences, built something my grandfather would have been proud of. The foundation had funded 200 scholarships. Kids were graduating from top universities, getting good jobs, paying it forward. Destiny was now the executive director, running things while I focused on the company. Tyler and I had 2 more children, a son named David and another daughter named Helen. Our house was chaotic and loud and perfect, full of love and laughter and the kind of messy normalcy I'd always craved. Dad had become a decent grandfather. Not great, too much guilt and trying too hard, but he showed up, remembered birthdays, treated all 3 kids equally. It was something. Brooke had gotten married. I went to the wedding, gave a polite speech, left early. We exchanged Christmas cards, birthday texts. The relationship was cordial, but distant. We'd probably never be close. The foundation was too cracked, but we'd found a version of peace. My stepmother I never saw or spoke to again. I heard through the grapevine that she'd remarried, moved to Florida, started a blog about blended families that I refused to read. She was someone else's problem now, not mine. On the 10th anniversary of the video going viral, a reporter called, wanted to do a "Where are they now" piece. I declined. The story had been told, the lessons had been learned, there was nothing left to say. But that night, I did pull up the video, watched it for the first time in years, saw myself at 26 barely visible in my own wedding video, saw my stepmother and Brooke stealing the spotlight, saw the moment that changed everything, and I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, no vindication, just a mild sense of gratitude that it had happened. Because without that video, I might have stayed invisible forever. I might have accepted the scraps they threw me. I might have never fought for better. The video had been the catalyst, the breaking point, the moment I'd decided I was done being erased. And from that decision had come everything good in my life. The career, the foundation, the family, the peace. Eleanor came into the room, now 13 and full of opinions. "What you watching?" "The old wedding video." She rolled her eyes. "God, that's so cringy. Why would Grandma do that?" She was trying to make herself important by making me invisible. "Did it work?" I smiled. "For a while. Then it backfired spectacularly." "Good. That's what she deserved." Eleanor flopped onto the couch next to me. "You know what I think?" "What?" "I think she did you a favor. If she hadn't been such a nightmare, you wouldn't have become so strong. You wouldn't have built all this. You wouldn't be you." Out of the mouths of 13-year-olds, she was right. In a twisted way, my stepmother had shaped me. Her cruelty had forged my strength. Her erasure had taught me to make myself visible. Her favoritism had shown me exactly how not to treat my own children. I'd built my entire adult life as a reaction to her, and now that life was so full, so complete, so undeniably mine that she barely factored into it at all. That was the final victory. Not destroying her, not getting revenge, but building something so beautiful that her ugliness couldn't touch it. Living so well that her opinion became irrelevant. Becoming so fully myself that her attempts to erase me seemed absurd in hindsight. I closed the laptop. "Come on," I said to Eleanor. "Let's make dinner. Dad and the kids will be home soon." We cooked together, talking about her day, her friends, her plans for the weekend. Normal parent-child conversation. The kind I'd never had with my stepmother. The kind I made sure to have with Eleanor every single day. This was what I'd fought for. This ordinary evening, this simple dinner, this easy love. Not the money or the career or the public vindication, though those were nice too. But this. The ability to create a family built on respect and genuine affection, to break the generational curse of favoritism and neglect, to be the mother I'd needed when I was Eleanor's age. Tyler came home with David and Helen. We ate together, laughing and arguing and making plans. After dinner, I helped Helen with her homework while Tyler practiced piano with David. Eleanor disappeared to her room to video chat with friends. A normal Thursday night in a normal house with a normal family. Except none of it was normal for me. It was extraordinary. It was everything I'd fought for. It was the life I'd built from the rubble of my childhood. Later, after the kids were in bed, Tyler and I sat on the back porch with wine. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How far we've come, how different everything is from what I thought it would be. Better or worse?" "Better. So much better. Even the hard parts, even the fighting. It was all worth it to end up here." He raised his glass. "To the fighting, and to being done fighting." We clinked glasses, sat in comfortable silence, watched the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky. Inside, our children slept, safe, loved, seen, treated equally, and celebrated individually. They would never know what it was like to be invisible in their own family, to be cropped out of photos, to have their acceptance letters buried. That was my legacy. Not the foundation, though that mattered. Not the company, though that mattered too. But this. 3 kids who knew, beyond any doubt, that they were wanted, valued, enough. The viral video was 10 years behind me. The lawsuit was settled. The bridges were burned or mended. The anger was gone. The hurt had healed. All that remained was this. A life well lived. A family well loved. A future built on truth instead of lies. On fairness instead of favoritism. On strength forged in fire. I'd started as the invisible daughter. The forgotten child. The bride who disappeared from her own wedding video. I'd ended as the managing partner. The foundation founder. The mother who broke the cycle. The woman who'd taken her pain and transformed it into purpose. And in between those 2 versions of myself lay a million small victories. Every time I'd refused to accept less than I deserved. Every time I'd fought back. Every time I'd chosen myself when everyone else had chosen someone else. Those victories had built this life. This beautiful, ordinary, extraordinary life. And that, more than the money, more than the career, more than the 15 million views, that was enough.